Hiya! So today I'll be reading this book called Start With Why. What I usually do is just press timer 5 minutes, and that gives me enough time to practice my what's it called, like cold reading technique. So if you start with, so what you want to do is like the first few words of a sentence and the last few words of a sentence, that's what you want to be looking at the person that you're supposed to be reading to. So the sentence is, just because it works doesn't make it right. That's a pretty short sentence and easy to remember, so I could say the whole thing. Just because it works, it doesn't mean, oh, okay. So read, look up, just because it works doesn't make it right. And feel free to take the time. Right now it might seem like, oh, it feels like super awkward, but like while you're reading the whole text, it'll become evident. So for instance, the danger of manipulations is that they work. And because manipulations work, they have become the norm. Practiced by the vast majority of companies and organizations, regardless of size and industry. The fact alone creates a systemic peer pressure. With perfect irony, we, the manipulators, have been manipulated by our own system. With every price drop, promotion, fear-based or aspirational message, and novelty we use to achieve our goals, we find our companies, our organizations, and our systems getting weaker and weaker. Another thing is that a lot of people that don't train for acting would, like, at the end of every sentence, they would, like, their inflection drops. So instead of saying, and our system's getting weaker and weaker, try to go upwards. So, and our system's getting weaker and weaker, so that actually triggers that the listener wants to keep on listening because, oh, a new point of information is coming up. So it's still like exciting and vivid. Another thing that I do is I practice accents. So the economic crisis that began in 2008 is just another, albeit extreme, example of what can happen if a flawed assumption is allowed to carry on for too long. The collapse of the housing market and the subsequent collapse of the banking industry were due to decisions made inside the banks based on a series of manipulations. Employees were manipulated with bonuses that encouraged short-sighted decision making. Open shaming of anyone who spoke out discouraged the responsible dissent. A free flow of loans encouraged aspiring home buyers to buy more than they could afford at all price levels. Oh, and then another thing is, like, use your thumb to show where you are, because as just happened, sometimes when we are like excited or in the middle of something, we like forget where we are. It just takes time out. There was very little loyalty. It was all a series of intransactional decisions, effective but at a higher cost. Few are working for the good of the whole. Why would they? There was no reason given to do so. There was no cause or belief beyond instant gratification. Bankers weren't the first to be swept up by their own successes. American car manufacturers have conducted themselves the same way for decades. Manipulation after manipulation. Short-term decision built upon short-term decision. Another thing is that, which is what I'm doing right now, is that you want the eyesight to be as like level as possible with the person that you're reading to, so that instead of having your book or text script right here, you want it to be like to your side, so that you can easily go from reading to looking at the person without doing this, which is like time consuming and like weird because no one wants to see the top of your head. So these are all things that I've learned because I was doing them, or because I didn't know better, or at drama school, so, or all of the above. And just to finish off the page, let's continue. Bankers weren't the first to be swept up by their own successes. American car manufacturers have conducted themselves, okay, I already read that. Buckling or even collapse is the only logical conclusion when manipulations are the main course of action. The reality is, in today's world, manipulations are the norm. But there is an alternative. And look at that! Perfect! Timer is up. And that's what I practice every day. Or at least I try to do so in another book, which is Atomic Habits, which I have on my nightstand. You want to you do the habits obviously every day, but obviously things happen in life, and if you can't do it one day, that's totally fine. Do not bog yourself down. Another thing that they say is speak kindly to yourself, because a lot of people think, oh, if you're procrastinating, oh, you should like talk yourself down because you know, you're chastising yourself for having done something that you shouldn't do, which is procrastinate. But actually, if you treat yourself kindly with kind words, then you're more likely to be feeling good about yourself and go back to work. Because if you chastise yourself, aka punish yourself, you're just going to want to procrastinate more because you're like feeling like down. Anyway, so Atomic Habits says that it's okay if you miss one day, just make sure there's not 2 days. So with that being said, hope you do a bit of your cold reading technique. And that's all for me today. Bye bye. Let's talk with that accent, it's okay.